Yo, it's Arcade, and today I'm gonna show you how to make big room house like it's 2012 again. Big kicks, big plucks, big saws, and especially big rooms. Also, this video is brought to you by Skillshare, more on that later. So let's get right into the action and start with the drop. I'm gonna set the BPM to 128, and the essential thing for any big room house track is the bassy kick. So I'm gonna use this one. And note that it's in the key of E, that's important. This one is from my pack Staple Sounds. So let's just put it in the playlist. Just like so, select it, hold Ctrl B, duplicate it, and we're gonna repeat it like this. And our big room house track is on the way. Next, we need some stabs or brass hits. Anything like that will work. I've got this sound from Nexus called Disto Plaque, and it sounds like this. And I'm gonna use a very low note here. That's gonna act sort of like a stab. To make this more interesting, we're gonna have a little melody with it, so it sounds like this. So I'm gonna put it in the playlist like this. First, I just wanna repeat the stab by itself twice, and then in the next repetition, I'm also gonna put the rest of the melody there. And to add a little bit more variation, I'm gonna add one more note here, which is this one. And of course, as you can see, the stab is in E2, which is the same as the kick. Make sure the stab is the same note as the kick. That will work the best in the track. Then it's sounding like this. The bass of the song is coming together, and of course later we are going to make some adjustments, maybe delete the kicks in some parts, add some fills, but for now this is good. And the cat is here. He's going to take lead on the tutorial. Also, important note, I did sidechain the stabs by using the kickstart plugin, which means every time the kick hits, the volume of the stab is lowered at first. That will help the kick and the bass to pierce through the mix. I also added some EQ and some reverb on the stabs. Now to finish the bass for the drop, we are going to add some effects. So a simple sweep like this, which is also sidechained. As you can see, it's like pumping. If you don't have Kickstart plugin, you can use Gross Beat. Go to Repeater and you can choose sidechain A or sidechain B. That will have the same effect, but I prefer Kickstart. So then we have this down sweep, and we are going to have this up filter as well. That's gonna build up the tension in the drop. So that's our starting point for the drop. Now let's add the melody. There is a wide variety of sounds you can use in the drop for the melody. It can be a lead or it can be a pluck, even some chopped up vocals. In our case, it will be a pluck. I'm using this sound from EDM pack in Nexus called Push, which is like a percussion pluck. Once again, it is side-chained. Now let's take a look at the melody. Now, of course, the melody is very important because it makes or breaks the whole track, but it can be very simple as well. The melody I went with sounds like this. Very simple, it constantly repeats, but it works well in the drop. Once again, focus on the E key, because usually the big room house tracks only repeat the one note for the bass. So you also want to focus on that note with the melody. So I'm gonna delete the melody for now, and I'm gonna show you how you can build your own melody. First thing first, if you don't know what keys to use, you can go here, scale highlighting, choose your scale. In my case, it's gonna be major, and then choose your key. In my case, it's gonna be E, because the bass note is in E. Use the right click on this one so the window doesn't close. And now the highlighted notes are the ones that you can use in the E major key, and the darker ones are out of the E major key. So just use the highlighted notes here. Now to start building our melody, I would recommend starting with the key of E. One thing I definitely recommend is using triplets. So right here you can see line, just change that to 1/3 beat. The grid changed, and now we are working with triplets. So you can just put them in like this, and it's gonna be triplets. Otherwise, it would be like this. That's normal notes that are right on the grid, right on the beat, but these one are triplets. So make sure to enable that so you can have a more interesting rhythm. You can also enable the metronome here. So maybe something like this with the triplets. It sounds like this in the drop. So you can use the scale highlighting, but don't put too much weight into it. If you make a melody and it sounds good to your ears, then it should be good. The melody I went with in the end is this one. And as you can see, these notes are right on the grid, but there are some offbeat notes here and here. So I sort of switch between the triplets and the regular rhythm. And then it sounds like this. So as you can see, this lower note acts like a filler note. That's another great tip to do. You can just go octave lower, so you have E5 here, then you can use E4 to sort of roll into that note. And then also, instead of using just 1/3 beat, you can do 1/3 step, and then you can adjust the notes even more on the grid. So this is the finished melody right here. And one big thing about this is in the first part it ends with, and in the second part it ends with this, which sort of creates a loop. So always the last two notes should fit well with the first two notes. So you sort of loop the melody seamlessly. So here is how it sounds in the whole drop. So that is my melody. If you are struggling with this and you want to learn more about music theory, you can go into more detail by watching some classes like this one, Music Theory for Electronic Musicians, which I personally watched, and it helped me tremendously because it gave me a new perspective on how to make chords and melodies, because it is explained on the MIDI grid, and he uses famous songs to show you how the music theory is applied on those tracks. So if you are interested in this class and many more, you can find them on Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community with thousands of classes for a wide variety of topics, including music production. You will find many classes that are created by professionals who will help you take your skills to the next level. If you are not sure where to start, you can try out Skillshare's learning paths, where you will find hand-picked classes that will take you from a beginner to a pro in no time. Here is the learning path made specifically for music producers, where you can learn how to make a track from start to finish in FL Studio. Whether you are a beginner or a pro, you will definitely pick up some new tips and tricks from these classes. If you are interested in improving your skills, then check out the link in the description below. The first 500 people who use the link below will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today, and big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. We are back. For now we have the kick, the stabs, effects and the melody, but a very important thing in Big Room House is the fills, because the melody and the drums repeat all the time, so you want to spice it up with some fills, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So one of the simplest fills that you can use is a drum fill, and can you guess what it is? It's the Prida snare. This is the Prida snare. It's just a very reverby snare. I got this one from Staple Sounds, but you can make your own by putting a snare, putting a lot of reverb on it, and then cutting it off after one beat. So that's the first basic fill, and the way we use it is we delete the kick in that part, in the end of the first drop repetition, remove the kick, and put the Prida snare there instead. Then it sounds like this. So yeah, that's a really simple transition from one part of the drop to another. Doesn't get more basic than that. The second fill will be a bit more complex. I'm gonna use some dubstep loops, like synth fills. I got this one from Kashmir Spec. And I'm gonna combine it with another fill, which is a drum fill from Staple Sounds. I'm just gonna play the first part of the synth fill. Then I'm gonna play the drum fill on top of it. And I'm also gonna play the stabs all the way through. And that's gonna be our fill in the end of the drop. One thing you wanna do there is remove the kick altogether and remove the melody as well. And you're gonna pretty much have the last 4 beats being just the fill. And it sounds like this. So that's how you make these two fills. You can be creative and make your own. You can do drum fills, synth fills, vocal fills. Just make sure to add some fills because they are important. Now that's the first part of the drop done. But there is always a second part of the drop which needs to be a bit more exciting than the first one. So how do we do that? What I'm gonna do is put the same melody, but layer it with more sounds. So let's take a look at the second drop. We have the same thing, but we are also going to add some drop claps. Once again, you can just grab claps, put some reverb on them, and you have drop claps, or you can use pre-made drop claps like these ones. Some white noise, which is also sidechain, that's gonna fill out the drop and add more energy to it. This is a basic white noise sound. You can also use 3x oscillator in FL Studio, change it to noise like this. And then you have a noise sound of your own, and you can adjust it in here by moving these, depending on what color noise you want, but I'm using this sample. So then we have this, and the effects are the same, sweeps and erasers, and also some rides, repeating them 3 times. So then we have a really nice bass for the drop. But now the melody is actually playing octave lower. But we didn't just add the melody octave lower, we also added some new sounds to the melody to make it way bigger. So the first sound that I added is this magma lead. And the second layer is this future bounce lead. So we're gonna layer those two together. And also layer it with the original pluck melody. So yeah, that's our melody in the second drop. That's the difference between the first one and the second one. We added more background sounds like the drop claps, rides, white noise, and we lifted the melody by adding more layers to it. So now it sounds like this. This is the end of the first drop. So yeah, the second one has way more power than the first one, and that's what you want to do for sure. As far as the effects go, the leads are sidechained, of course. And I boosted some of the high frequencies there to make them more obvious in the drop. And I also used transient processor and boosted the attack. That means the first part of the sound is going to be more obvious. So the initial hit is going to be louder. You can see it shown on the graph here. So the peaks are louder right there. It sort of makes it more plucky, which is good for big room house. Also, one more pro tip: if your kick is not bassy enough, you can also use transient processor on the kick and make the release louder. That will make the bass part of the kick louder. So this is without it, and this is with it. Transient processor is a great plugin for these type of things. So now we have the first and the second drop ready to go. But we are not done just yet. We need the breakdown and a build up. So some big solos are coming up. So how do we make the breakdown? We're gonna start with some chords. These are my chords. Again, starting with E and then building from that. And at first I'm gonna do very mellow chords and then we're gonna turn them into big solos. So at first it sounds like this. So chords with some little melody in there. I'm using this sound from Serum, this mellow chord. So in the beginning of the breakdown, I'm gonna do some sub drop, which is just this sound. It also was pretty overused in these tracks. So that's how we're gonna start it. Some crashes, down sweeps, risers, the chords, and some little melody in the background as well. I'm using this reverby pluck and the melody is looking like this. Once again making a seamless loop with that melody, because in the first repetition we play these 3 notes. But in the second one we add one more right before, to make sure the listener hears that difference between the first part and the second part of the melody. So that's how our breakdown starts. And then we transition into the second part of the breakdown, which utilizes the big solos. So the way I transition into it is I actually recorded the first note of the solo, which is this one. So just put the first note, make it long, and record it in Edison. Just press record on play the sound, it will record the first note. Just this one big hit, and then put it in the playlist right here, and I'm gonna reverse it. And in the new FL Studio you can also adjust the fader, so it's gonna slowly come in like this, and it sounds like this. And then we hit it with the second part of the breakdown, which will be the same chords, but with these big solos. So the big solos I'm using, this one, big solo chords from Nexus. And then these big trance solos from Serum, which have more of a hit, and these are from my sample pack Staple Sounds, where you only pay once and you get access to all of my sample packs, and not only that, you'll be receiving brand new sample packs every month for free forever, without any further payments. So if you want to get some amazing samples and presets, check that out, link is below as well. So as you can see, we are playing the same chords, and we also added some sub bass here to make the chords stand out a little bit more. And we also added some drop claps, once again, different ones this time. And I added some vocal here as well. So as you can see, this vocal is in D minor. So I pitched it up by 2 semitones. That way it ends on E minor, which is the key of our song, which we established in the beginning with the kick. So then our second part of the breakdown sounds like this.
Listening to favorite songs, she was always happy, cleaning dishes every day. They were starting angry, but she knows. 1, 2 hours later, she put on headphones, listening to sad songs, listening.
And we move on to the build-up. So we have a pretty standard build-up here, but it's very important. The build-up creates this tension, so afterwards the drop hits even harder. So what I did in the build-up is repeat the vocal 1 bar like this.
Listening to favorite songs, listening to favorite songs.
Then repeated it even faster.
Listening to,
Then even faster.
listen.
And then we're gonna have some empty space right here. One thing I also did is automate the pitch of the vocal. So just put the vocal on mixer track 8, for example, and I added some reverb and pitch shifter. And I set it to music and automate the pitch going up.
Listen.
The way you do that, you just click on the pitch, right click, create automation clip, and then I adjusted it like this, going up and then back down.
Listen.
The same thing we did with the vocal, cut it up. We did that with the chords as well. They are playing like this at first, and then they are playing like this. Then we have some build-up drums, which sort of follow the same rhythm. Once again, from Staple Sounds, you can use any build-up drums or you can make your own. I have videos for that as well. So these are the sounds I'm using in the build-up, and I cut them up so they are intensifying as we go. We have the risers and we have the crashes, all the standard stuff. But one more important thing I did is used NeonGlow, which is my very own plugin, and I put it on the master channel, and I automated the build parameter, the wash, and this build parameter as well, which will sort of create this nice build-up effect, removing the low frequencies, adding some delay, some reverb, and it's gonna sort of wash it out, as you can hear right here, because without it, it sounds like this. And with it, it sounds like this. Sort of washes it out and increases that tension even more. So that's NeonGlow by me. All the links are in the description if you are interested. And that's our build-up right there. And of course, it wouldn't be a big room house track without some cliche phrase before the drop. So that's what we did here. I recorded myself, and of course we have to add some effects on it because my voice just sounds sort of lame. But this is my recording, the cliche phrase before the drop. Drop it like it's hot, hot. Yeah, very epic. But we actually run it through AI to change the voice. Then it sounds like this.
Drop it like it's hot, hot.
But I also added many effects on it. So we have some sound goodizer to make it like pop a lot more, some EQ to remove the low frequencies, pitch shifter, which again is going to go lower this time, and I automated that right here.
Drop it like it's hot, hot.
I pitched down the whole vocal by 2 semitones, so it's deeper,
Drop it like it's,
and added some reverb
drop it like it's,
and Maximus with the NI compression preset, because without the reverb and Maximus it sounds like this.
drop it like it's hot, hot.
Very dry, but with the reverb and Maximus.
Drop it like it's hot, hot.
So that's our cliche phrase before the drop, and that's pretty much it. That's the breakdown and the build-up ready to go. Now we just connect it to the drop with a Prida snare, and I actually did a double Prida snare here.
Drop it like it's hot, hot.
That is it for how to make big room house like it's 2012. And now let's preview the finished result with the breakdown, the build-up, and the drop. Enjoy!
She was always happy, cleaning dishes every day. They were starting angry, but she knows, she knows. 1, 2 hours later, she put on headphones, listening to sad songs, listening to favorite songs, listening to favorite songs, listening to favorite songs, listening to favorite songs, listening to, listening to, listening to, listening to.
Drop it like it's hot, hot.
So that is it for this video, hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to check out Skillshare to get a 1-month free trial and check out my sample packs or my plugins, all the links are in the description below. Goodbye.